we look at this world and we see corona, we see, maybe we see human trafficking, and we see murder, all kinds of horrible crimes. And there's this sense of voice screaming within us, this is not how it should be. We work in our jobs, we work in whatever we work on, and there's another voice that screams out, there's got to be more to life than this, right? Most of us have that voice. You're probably familiar with this saying, curiosity killed the cat.
Yep.
Did you know that that's not the actual saying?
Okay.
The actual saying is, curiosity killed the cat, which is what society has said so that you're not too curious. But it's actually curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought it back.
Okay.
The idea is you need to be curious and you need to go looking until you're satisfied and you find what you're looking for. So my advice would be, you know that voice that says there's got to be more to life than this. Follow it, seek and you will find. That's a promise, right? If you're curious, go look and be curious until you're satisfied.
That was Nestin Vas. He is the founder of Little More Love and On Wonder. He is also a freelancer in website design and development. We talk about how not everything can be planned and how taking things one day at a time is probably the way to go. We also go into a conversation about how he found his calling with God and how he has a very deep connection with God. This does not mean that the conversation takes a very religious or a spiritual route. It's more about understanding that you should always have a purpose or a voice that guides you, irrelevant of what form that takes. Just so many things that we talk about, and I feel it just comes down to the eye with which you look at it. Before we get into the episode though, are you liking the show so far? Is this something that is keeping you intrigued? Is it something that's interesting? If so, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel, drop us a like and a comment below. At the same time, if you are listening to this over any of the audio channels like Spotify, Google Podcasts, or Apple Podcasts, or any of your favorite audio channels, then consider following us or subscribing to us there too. So yeah, without further ado, let's get to the show. So where do we get started? I mean, we've been talking about fake talking and whatever, but yeah, are you looking for questions? Yeah, so
I think once the clap started, my brain went on off mode.
Oh shit! Oh no, the clap.
It's begun.
The hypnotism. Yeah, dude. So maybe I know there's so many aspects we can talk about. There's so many things we can really dive deep into, but let's start with what you're doing right now, at least from a Little More Love's perspective, and we'll slowly go into other things. So maybe walk us through that first.
Okay. So let me try explaining what Little More Love is. So what we are is, I hate using this word organization. I prefer, I mean, it is an organization because we had to register and things like that, but I prefer calling us a movement or a community.
Okay.
Or best word would probably be team.
Okay.
Team of people, community of people that can simply think larger than themselves in terms of helping others. The whole idea has been that we all have an influence in somebody else's life. We all make a difference every single day, whether we are aware of it or not. We say, hey, I like what you're wearing today, and it puts a smile on someone's face and it makes a difference. So the whole idea is, imagine all those individual actions. Imagine if we did that together consciously. So that involves actually going out to those who are hurting, maybe in orphanages or old age homes, or just on the streets, people who are random people who we don't know what they're going through, and just reaching out with a kind word, or actually figuring out what these organized institutions like orphanages, old age homes need and helping them out. So that's what we are in the process of doing, and that's what we've been up to for the past couple of years. Right now, during this lockdown, what we've been focusing on is the biggest issue, which is migrant workers who've had difficulty in coping up with the whole lockdown and pandemic, and they've needed supplies, groceries, food, and we've been trying to do our own bit in helping them out with that.
Right.
Yeah.
So this has been how many years in the making? About 6-7 years now?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the idea was there in 2012. We started 2013. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right. So this is when you were back in college.
Yes. Yeah.
So for folks who don't know, he's an engineer just like I am, and none of us are doing anything in those lines. Is it because you were never keen on pursuing something there, or was it happenstance that kind of led you to this, or how did you kind of go about it?
Honestly, I don't think I've ever been, at least till engineering or even after engineering, I've never been keen on pursuing anything.
Okay.
So I just took life as it came along. So after school, what to do? Okay.
Meet me in Joseph's.
I thought 11th and 12th.
Yeah.
There was an issue with 11th and 12th, so I just ended up in Joseph's PU. And then what after PU? And I was in the science stream, so the most logical thing is continue with engineering.
Right.
Landed up in engineering. After engineering, what to do? Job, take it up. So it's always been just going with the flow, one after the other. And you can, if you look at my resume, you can clearly make that out, because while everyone else pursued their career during the summer holidays, went interning and did that, I spent hours just on the basketball court.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I remember that. I remember that to some extent at least.
I was in college during the summer more than the supplementary students were, just to play ball. So, yeah.
Nice. But you did work in your field, right?
Yeah.
Right out of college.
Yeah, because I thought 4 years engineering, might as well give it a shot and see what it's all about. If I like it, I like it. And
this is MEC.
This is MEC, yeah.
And not even in Bangalore, if I'm not wrong, right? You worked outside Bangalore. It took you to other places.
Yeah, that's right. So the thing is, in placement training, they tell you, if the recruiters ask you, are you willing to move? Always say yes. Right. Because you want the job, even if you mean no. So obviously I said yes, and I meant no. But
they didn't know that.
3 months into training, the company said, hey, Pune seems like a good fit for you. Why don't you go? And thought about it and decided, let's give this a shot, because I've never stepped out of my comfort zone willingly. Maybe this could work.
Yeah. And how was Pune?
I loved it. I met the love of my life there.
Oh, okay.
And
nice.
Yeah, grateful to Pune for that, obviously. And Pune was awesome. I loved it. Because of Pune, I got in touch with Mumbai, and I'm very deeply connected to the people in Mumbai right now.
Oh, how so?
I would say I've got a fellowship there that I really connect with. Really connected with the people there, where we used to meet once a week and the church stuff would happen, and really lovely people. We're in touch all the time. I would say, some of my best friends are in Mumbai. I travel there quite often.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Nice.
Pune, thanks to Pune.
Yeah, all thanks to Pune. And when did you decide it's about time you come back home?
So the thing is, when I was in Pune, I happened to, like I said, there was just something that happened that led me to Mumbai for something, and I ended up there, and I happened to step into this church where I had this deep, profound encounter. There was just a sense of overwhelming peace and purpose, which seemed to say, I have plans for you. You need to step out of Pune.
Okay.
So it was weird, because right after that, I went back to Pune, and I said, I need to go back to Bangalore. I don't know what's in store there, but I just need to go. And the next day, I walked up to my boss and said, planning on resigning. He said, cool, great. And I had no idea
why.
I had no idea why, which is exactly what happened. I came back to Bangalore, and 6 months I did nothing.
You played ball again.
I didn't
not even
play
that.
ball. Actually, I did. I kind of helped the juniors by coaching them in
Okay.
college, but that was it. I mean, I would sit on my computer all day just scrolling through Facebook for 6 months, and it was just sad and weird. And I was like, what am I doing? Why did I even?
It was like a profound encounter. You got back here and you're just like scrolling through.
Like, what the heck is happening?
Yeah.
Like, this isn't what you promised me.
Yeah. But finally, how did that lead to, where you are right now? What happened then?
I I was part of this. During those 6 months, I joined this Bible study group that met once a week.
Okay.
And one of the guys there, when he was sharing, he said, no, actually, I shared saying, if you guys are praying, please pray that I get a job and stuff like that. And one of the guys said, hey, I own a company, which is just me. And would you want to be the first employee there? And I said, cool. We set up an interview. He wanted to do sales and marketing for other companies. I just took it up. That's how I moved on from my 6-month break.
Okay. All right. So, but while you're doing all this side by side, you're kind of still focusing on LML, Little More Love, through the entire thing. You're kind of investing some time. You're kind of doing, so when you say 6 months of not doing anything, I assume you were also doing this on a weekend, with another group.
See, sadly, no. That's what I mean. That's the weird part. Like, I know I had to come back for LML.
Right.
And yet, at least for the first 4 months, there was nothing.
Okay.
It was like, okay, I need to come up with a plan, which never came up.
Okay.
And finally, we decided, okay, let's just get back to what we were doing before. Weekends, let's start visiting places again. So we started visiting orphanages. We started visiting old age homes. Got in touch with a couple of people I knew, and they recommended government schools. And so we just started doing that kind of stuff again. And that's when it started picking up.
So before we I have a lot of questions here as well, but before we do that, if you could just walk us through what got you to kind of even start with LML. What, how did it lead to you having to do something during your engineering days? And because, like you said, you were taking it in its stride, right? You were kind of picking up things as you went through it.
Yeah.
So how did this happen to kind of, come by your way?
So I think it was December 2012, second year of engineering. It was this pretty low point in my life. Going through some stuff, just was completely blanked. It was Christmas time, and these carol singers came home and they sang, and I just couldn't wait for them to finish and get out of my house. But my mom was enjoying it. She was dancing with them, and it was pretty cool. And once they were done, she told me, why don't you take them to the neighbor's house downstairs? And very reluctantly, I did that. I took them down to the neighbor's house, and my neighbor at that point, she was this old woman who had Alzheimer's and kidney failure.
Wow.
Quite sick, so she's lying on her bed in the hall, and her husband is next to her, and I go stand on the other side. The carol singers come, they sing, and again I'm waiting for them to end, and she's just watching them sing. And in the middle of it, she reaches out her hand, holds out my hand, and says, thank you, with a smile on her face. I don't think this woman has smiled in at least a couple of months. And to see that happen, it was amazing. And there was this thought, which was, this needs to happen more often. Like, all I had done was bring strangers into her house who sang. Nothing big. And she smiled, and it made a difference. And that definitely needed to happen more often. So I went back home and said, I reached out to a friend and said, we need to do something about this. We need to make sure it happens. And she was very practical. She said, put a date. When do you want to start? What do you want to do?
Very
steps. Yeah.
Engineer's approach.
She's not even an engineer. And
the irony in that.
I mean, see, the thing is, she laughed at the idea first, but then she saw that I was serious. Okay, and then she said, okay, if you're serious about it,
let's do it. Yeah,
let's do it. Put a date and things like that. So we put a date. We said, okay, May something, 25th or something like that. Let's go and visit an orphanage, because it sounds simple, easy step. Let's do that.
And it's a ways, about a couple of months away, so you have time to plan and figure things out and all that, right?
Yeah. Also, you don't really need that much time to plan it.
I was wondering, what do you need
to plan it, something like that. But I don't know why I set that date.
Okay.
And either way, when that date comes, I have procrastinated to the point that nothing has been planned.
Right.
And that day, a family and I just decided to go to a family friend's wedding. And we're stepping out. We're just trying to step out of the apartment, and we see that our neighbor, the old woman's door, is open. And my mom says, let's just go say hi. It's been a while. And so we go walk past the door, and we can see her lying in her coffin. Now, I don't really believe in coincidences, which means that this was clearly a sign for me, saying, you set a date, And if you're not going to honor it, it's time you deserve a whack on your back. And
Right.
So the next week, I called a couple of friends in college, said, lunch break, this classroom, meet up.
Oh, in college?
Yeah, in college.
Okay.
So it was so amazing how they all turned up, and who does that?
Yeah.
They all turned up for this random meeting with this random friend of theirs. And I said, okay, here's the plan. Why don't we go out this December singing? And why don't we try raising funds for a cause that we know about? And they all said yes. And that December was amazing. We went out just 8 days. I actually have the dates written. I actually have that attendance sheet and all still,
Attendance sheet?
Yeah, and the amount of money everyone gave. And in 8 days, we raised 50,000, which we helped an orphanage that was struggling they were being forced to move. So we helped them out with that. And there's been no turning back since then.
Nice, man. So this is about a year after you basically planned and had
You can see how bad I am at planning things.
Right. So even after you graduated, how did you ensure that things kind of, stayed afloat in a place like Pune?
I'm actually glad Facebook has this Facebook memories thing.
Okay.
Because once in a year, I think around December itself, this memory pops up and it's my status. It's this picture of 2 of the guys, actually 3 guys in a car with boxes and boxes of toys in the car, and they've just taken a selfie, and the status I've put is, people asked what would happen to LML if you left Bangalore. And the answer is this: when you have people like this, you don't need to worry at all. So people actually stepped up. LML did some really crazy things when I wasn't there. Sometimes I wonder
Makes
if it's
sense,
better. But it was amazing how people stepped up and people made a difference. And there were ideas popping up all over the place. It was quite cool.
So you guys had meetings where you would attend virtually, or was it entirely handled by someone here while you were there?
I think entirely. I think meetings would just be me just calling one person up and saying, hey, what are we doing? What's happening? And things like that. I don't think I ever did video calls back then.
Yeah. Nice. So once you were back, why the sort of gap, or why the hesitation to kind of get things going, and what kind of got you to again kickstart things out?
Something I've learned about myself is that I'm not really a good planner, or I'm probably not a good visionary.
Okay.
And that seems kind of bad on me, but I guess that's just the way it is. So I spent those 6 months saying I need to come up with a plan, and I just didn't. Like, if somebody asked me now, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I have no idea. Probably maybe called back to this podcast. I don't know.
Yeah.
3 years next month. I don't even know where. I mean, all I know is I'm having biryani for lunch.
Wow.
Okay.
Good. Am I invited? I mean, come on.
You can come. It's close by.
Okay.
That's all I know, and I just couldn't come up with a plan. And so went back to just going with the flow. And I really think life has, I really think God has also taught me that I shouldn't be the one who comes up with plans. Because I can tell you stories where after school, I wanted to do, actually, when I came to Bangalore, I was supposed to join one school. Didn't work out, so I ended up in Joseph's. Best thing that happened to me.
Where were you planning to join?
I don't think I should mention.
Oh, okay.
And then after Joseph's, I wanted to continue in ISC. I didn't get in because of disciplinary reasons. Okay, I'd done some...
At Joseph's itself?
No, at Joseph's ISC.
That's what, you were planning to join boys' high school?
Yeah. And they didn't take me, there was some shady stuff that had happened and I didn't get in. And I was forced to get into Joseph's PU. First day I stepped into class and I put my head down and I said, is this what has become of me? Best thing that's happened to me. 2 years, I'm graduating as the best outgoing student. Disciplinary issues, best outgoing student.
Pretty much the same group of institutions.
And then after that, engineering. But I plan to get into PESIT or something. So when CET happened, I picked civil engineering in PESIT, again, part of the plan.
Right.
The CET cell calls me and says, guess what? There is no civil engineering in PESIT after we've picked it. And this has happened to around 20 people.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
There's no engineer, there's no civil itself.
There wasn't, because they were trying, that was the first year they were trying to start, and the AICTE said you can't take this many more students.
Got it.
So the CET cell called, apologized, said, hey, guess what? We're offering you BMS mechanical seat. Take it or leave it.
Right.
And okay, that's a good deal. Take it. So I took it. So, and then after that, plan to get into the design department of the company that I got into. Went for the interview. The results came out next day. Nothing is there. My name's not there. So I'm upset. But the next day, the HR calls and says, we liked you a lot. We want you in this department instead. And that happened.
Nice.
And then Pune happened. None of this has been according to the plan.
Mm.
So I realized I'm not the man with the plan. I can't be making plans. I just have to execute as they come.
Go with it.
So, yeah.
So, nice. So what about this whole thing kind of kickstarted LML again? And I assume ever since then, you guys have been you've taken it to pretty much the next level, because I've seen quite a few updates the last couple of years, right? And I think although you started with orphanages or blood donation drives, I think you have moved or expanded to so many other things, right? So yeah, what kind of pushed you to do that?
So during those 6 months, there were some things that happened between a couple of friends and I, in which I was very, very clearly in the wrong, especially when it came to dealing with one particular person. And with that, there was a lot of tension that built up. And around that time, I realized that we had 206 people on the LML members list.
Wow. At that point?
At that point.
Wow.
And there were 4 people turning up for events. And so that wow.
Yeah. Yeah. That's also a wow. But a different kind of wow.
And so send out a mail saying, okay, here are the rules. We need you to respond because it's a sign of courtesy. And here's a bunch of rules. We need you to come for events. And around 40 people said amen. The rest didn't respond, and we had to say thank you so much. And around that time, a lot of friends also left because of the issues that I had created. But yeah, and that was a revelation in itself, that I need to, just because I'm leading an organization that's about love and kindness doesn't mean that I'm always loving and kind. I had to reassess what I was doing, and a new bunch of people came in, and these 40 people were quite dedicated.
Oh, okay, you got a new batch altogether.
Yeah, more people started joining in as the events continued.
That's the thing. How did you actually get the word out there? Was it just you updating?
Just word of mouth and social media and things like that. The more we posted about our events, the more people wanted to know.
Right.
And people stepped forward. So,
nice.
And by this point, I'm back from Pune. So, I've started dating this girl that I met in Pune.
Okay.
And she stepped in to help a lot, and there were new ideas coming in.
But she was
in Mumbai. She moved to Mumbai right after that. So
okay.
She's still in Mumbai.
Okay, so it's all long distance.
Yeah, it's long distance, and it's quite good. She still manages a lot of things for LML, and it's great that way. So new ideas started coming out, and we decided to visit more orphanages. This opening was there in this government school where we got to go every weekend and teach them English. We decided to actually categorize our projects. So it wasn't just about visits anymore. It was about, okay, what do these places want and need? Do they want shoes? Do they want clothes? Do they want toys? We can find out people who can get this kind of stuff for them. Or we can go buy it. What's stopping us? So that became our second project. The blood drive became the third project. My girlfriend had this idea of reaching out to people who were struggling emotionally or who were celebrating. So every once in a while, what we do is we ask people to send across nominations. So for example, if you know someone who's going through a struggle or who's going through a celebration, like the birth of a child, you can nominate that person and just give name and a brief description. And we assign someone to write a random letter. So it's a handwritten letter. And so there's 3 people writing the letter to this person, and we bunch those letters up, send it as a nice package. It's weird because the first time we did it, we got this testimony, this response of someone who was going to end their life on the same day they received the letter.
Wow.
And they stopped. And that's when we knew this is something that has to continue happening. And the response has been amazing since then. People have been coming back saying, whoa, this came at just the right time. And yeah, so that's how we started and that's how we continued.
Okay. So if I get this right, basically people nominate others who are in stressful times and right. And any, apart from letters, did you guys do any sort of visits and did you actually do anything in person with these guys once things, like let's say.
So the person that I mentioned about,
Yeah.
Yes, we did. I didn't, but my girlfriend and some other friends visited her, and
this is in Bangalore itself.
Yeah, and it was a nice conversation that they had, and it was
of
good.
course. The reason I ask is when you meet the person as well, they have a very, very different outlook and a very different sort of a vibe of feeling itself.
Yeah. So what we do with these letters is. When we send them out, we leave a little card at the bottom also saying, little more love. If you would want to reach out and figure out where this letter came from, here's a number that you can contact, which is basically my number or my girlfriend's number. We started doing this because in the second batch, we sent out letters and it went to an old age home and the woman read it and she was very, very touched. But a part of her was a little scared because who are these people? How do they know about me?
Right.
And so we had to...
Full disclosure.
We had to say somebody nominated you, and we won't mention who nominated them and things like that, unless they want to find out, they want to call.
So that's a very interesting point you brought up there, because even with getting guests on our show, right now I'm kind of digging deep into my contacts and friends and all that, but we have also started reaching out to so many other folks. So the first question they asked is, how did you find me? And especially women, right? They're just a little apprehensive. So what do you do otherwise? Are you a stalker or a killer on the side? And I'm just like, no, this is it. So I explain my business as well. I'm like, I'm doing this part-time and kind of keeping things afloat. But yeah, I can imagine. So yeah, I think it's people tend to appreciate it more when they know where it's actually coming from, right? When there is only good intent with which you're doing that. And I don't think you guys are looking to really make anything of this or gain anything of this anyway, right? It's just a matter of bringing a smile to someone's face. Yeah. Nice. So, so I think right now, if I'm not wrong, you're freelancing. You have moved away from regular jobs because maybe someone's decided that that's the route you're supposed to take. Right. So how did you finally end up that? And is this whole freelancing thing something you're doing to kind of keep things going on the LML front? And of course, there is a whole other topic about spirituality and God we have to get down to, of course, because you did mention that a couple of times, right? So we have to obviously talk about the holy elephant in the room, if you want to call it that, right? But just walk us through how you finally ended up freelancing. I mean, you've literally gone through all these other jobs and now you're doing things on your own.
So the company I was at, my girlfriend was working in another anti-human trafficking organization in Mumbai.
Wow.
And in 2017, I helped organize. Along with the company I was at, we helped organize this fundraiser marathon for them in Mumbai. And we did it in December. It was fun. Lots of people turned up. We raised a lot of funds for them, and it was pretty cool. It was amazing. It was an amazing experience for me. The following year, I suggested to our company that we do it again, and our company said yes, and we were going forward with it. And last minute, there was some sort of miscommunication that happened, and we were going to back out of this. Our company was going to back out of this organizing the marathon.
Okay.
And I had to step up and say, we can't do this to an NGO. I think I need to be out. And I said, I'll go ahead and do the marathon by myself.
Okay.
And they said, cool. I left. It was like a one-day notice, left, caught a flight, moved to Mumbai, worked on the marathon, came back, realized I have no job. Now what?
Yeah.
Now what? and but even back then, my plans were to get married soon. And I realized you can't really do that if you don't have a job. I mean, what are you going to do? So, so I'm sitting there, and I thought, okay, let's try at least focusing on Little More Love. And I typed www.littlemorelove.org, and I realized, wait a minute, we don't have a website. What am I typing?
Okay.
And said, okay, let's work on something. And so I just started putting pieces of information together and the website together. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, this is fun. maybe I can do this for a living. You know? And I just gave myself a title. I am now a website designer developer. And just told my friends, I'm thinking of doing this. And I was overwhelmed by how helpful they were. They just spread the word saying, hey, guys, all our contacts, we know a friend of ours who's doing website design. And I actually learned how to design websites by getting clients. So they came and
on the job.
And they were like, this is our requirement. Can you do it?
Hell yeah.
How do I do this? And I go back, yeah, I can. Why don't we find out? And why don't you pay me and we can find out?
Give me the money first.
Yeah. And 1 year, I've learned quite a lot, and it's been amazing. I've fallen in love with it. That's how I got into freelance website.
Dude, that's freaking awesome. That it again goes back to LML. The fact that you started doing something there, and you're basically doing this to kind of, earn a living.
Yeah.
Which is insane stuff, man. So how do you like it? I mean, of course, you seem to be enjoying it. I mean, it's something that's very different. And I've spoken to a couple of freelancers in the past, and even one of the freelancers in one of our previous episodes spoke about the same thing you said. I just take things as it comes, and I'm not really sure because I can't plan that well in advance anyway. So might as well, look at things that come by my way, which is a lot. I see a lot of inquiries coming by. So how has that transition been? And were you able to focus more time on LML at that point? And is that why you guys are doing a lot of other things? Of course, forget this whole COVID scene, but apart from that.
Absolutely. I think so. Yeah. With freelancing comes its own flexibilities. You get to pick when you want to work and how you want to work. Of course, clients do have a say based on urgency, but you get to say, I have a little more love at this point of time. And so that flexibility has been there. There's no traveling to the office involved, so that saves, especially in Bangalore, because I used to travel 20 kilometers one way every day.
That's not too much. That's not too bad for the Bangalore, but yeah.
So that was 3 hours in travel right there. So the transition's been great because I got to focus on other things. And especially in the beginning, because there weren't a lot of clients, there was maybe one or two. So I would leave a whole chunk of the day free. And I could focus on Little More Love and other things that I really wanted to get involved in. So it's been really helpful.
Nice. Are you looking at moving into other areas as well with freelancing, or are you planning to just stick with website design and development? Or did you try as well?
Well, I actually tried digital marketing.
Okay.
I don't think I have the patience for it. I tried content writing. I don't think I have the patience for that either. But yeah, once in a while, a content writing project comes along and I help out in small ways, especially when it's merged with a website. Anything else I've tried? I don't think so. Like just making creatives and things like that, yes. But anything else for the income?
Not so much.
Not so much. Because again, my career has never been the most important thing. I mean, a lot of times I look at people from our batch even and who are just up there, and there's a part of me that goes, if only I could be there too, and things like that. And but I know I wouldn't be satisfied and joyful even in a very successful, high income job.
That actually reminds me. I was recently shooting the whole intro episodes to our podcast, and one thing, of course, I wasn't scripting it word per se, but when I was typing out a couple of things, I realized one thing a lot of people do is kind of define who you are based on your job, based on your career. And I'm trying to kind of steer although the show is talking about leading life with a purpose and, following your passions, doing whatever it takes. But at the end of the day, you can't just say, this is my stature because this is what I do and this is how much, money is coming into my bank. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you're the one who has to be satisfied. Yeah. Right? So I can honestly tell you that I found it quite difficult to kind of frame something around this. I'm just thinking, who am I? Like, how do I really put this across? I mean, the first thing people want to know is, so who are you? Which basically implies, where do you work? What do you do? How much do you earn? That's sort of the cross questions the cross questioning that happens before you get married, right? So I found it quite difficult. So it's very interesting when you say that that's not the only thing, or rather that's not the main thing. There are so many other things. If that is something that kind of floats you about, great. You should vibe with that, and that kind of keeps you going. Absolutely. Great. But not everyone really works that way. So yeah, I find it quite, man, it's quite enlightening. Now, talking about enlightening, I need you to I need you to kind of walk us through your experience with God, because I know for a fact, I know I spoke about this yesterday as well over a call with you, but for folks who don't know, we basically were classmates in Joseph's. And
we were class reps together.
Dude, yeah, man. Dude, you're the only one who remembers all these things. Damn, we were class reps. Shit. Yeah, I mean, there's so many instances and moments that have been etched in my memory because of just how weird or how amazing they were. Yeah. Were you part of the whole the kabaddi match with the other class? You remember how it was, right? There was just, I think, one commerce class that was talented
in sports, right?
With everything, all the sports, anything co-curricular, they're the ones who take the prize, right? And we would do these make-do things like, oh, so you're wearing jeans, just fold it up and let's play kabaddi right now. Let's get on the field. And that's just what we did. Yeah. I remember how you got into a fight with, oh man, when we were playing this football game. So yeah, so what did you do that day? I mean, I remember all of us were playing. You weren't even involved directly.
I don't even know. And I just yelled at the ref, and who was also a student.
Yeah.
And I think I offended him quite a lot because...
Not just him, his entire clique, like the entire gang was like...
Because the next day I heard there were talks of getting me beaten up.
Shit.
So I had to lay low and hide for a bit. And I remember, funny thing is, may not be relevant to anyone listening, but people thought that Deepak was I, and some of them said, you know what, he deserves it, let's go beat him. So they were thinking of Deepak.
So Deepak's another classmate of ours. Damn. Oh man, such good times. Talking about good times and not so bad ones, I remember the day we got slapped by one of our prime teachers, our class teacher. Yeah. Oh God. I mean, so I have a very different rendition of that. I'd like you to walk us through what happened, because I don't know, that there's a lot of things I'd like to talk about when it comes to education and with other guests as well. But that's one thing that kind of stood out. So what actually happened that day?
So the funny thing is, he slapped me as a result of my celebrating him. So we had two chemistry teachers, right? So it was supposed to be the other chemistry teacher's class. I forgot her name, but she was supposed to come in, and instead of her, our man comes in. And he comes in, and I'm like, oh wow! And this is third day of college. So
is it?
Yeah, it was just the third day.
Second year.
First year.
Oh damn! Okay.
First year. So this is like a first impression kind of thing.
I don't remember all this. Dude.
I can never forget this because it's like, who gets slapped on the third day of college? So he walks in, and I go, yes! And the whole class goes in echo of the yes, and everyone's going sis, and he goes, who started it? And there's silence. Who started it? I demand to know. And the backbenchers are me, Dhanush, Don, Karan and Deepak,
Right.
and y'all are on the other side.
Yeah, I'm on the other side of the backbench.
So we're there and we're like, oh no, what to do? So then I step forward and Deepak steps forward too for some reason. He looks at me and steps back. So I'm like, okay, too late. Let's just get this
Anyway,
over.
you're Deepak.
So I go all the way forward and he's standing on the podium, right? The teacher, and I'm down and he's like, you did that? Like, yes. And I wish I could tell him, listen, I was saying yes because you're coming.
Yeah.
I wish I could tell him, but too late. He goes, "Shh," and I don't know if you remember this, but he missed.
Yeah.
He goes to the wall and he falls because he was standing up and he gets back up and goes,
man.
and I can still feel it there, right there. But that moment defined my relationship with him. Because I remember right the next day, he's the one who first came up and to our desk and said, I think you should stand for class rep. And when I became class rep, he said, I think you should stand for president. I didn't take that advice, but
Right.
but ever since that day, even in engineering, I have gone back to him to meet up with him in college and just chat with him. I've chatted with him about the girls I've dated. I've chatted with him about what job to choose, and it's been amazing. Him, Miss Anita Montero, I think the whole of the English department.
Right.
Mr. Albert Anthony. So,
there's just so many names, right?
Some teachers, you just, especially Prasanna Kumar, he's been amazing and
nice. Yeah.
And I think that slap was what started off.
Defined.
Definitely.
Because that also was about kind of him setting the tone to some extent. Like, you're an Office fan, right? Do you remember when these Stanford folks move into, Scranton and Dwight's like, you know what, you should fire one of these guys to kind of show them who's boss. He's like, I'm not going to fire anyone. At the end of it, one guy has to leave, so he, kind of turns it into a firing. So I now that you say that it was one of the first few days, after that people are shit scared of this guy. He was a frail looking guy, but he was like, people used to freak out the moment he entered class. And it's like, it's not easy to demand that sort of respect from 100 students and especially reckless boys.
Absolutely.
And but the fact that kind of translated into so many other things. But of course, we completely went off on a tangent. But now coming back to your journey with God. I know this is, again, probably not directly in line with what the show is about, but I feel you wouldn't do the things you're doing right now if it wasn't for certain encounters, certain instances, certain stories that have kind of defined you. And if I'm not wrong, you even have a page on Instagram that kind of talks or goes into this a little in depth, right? So maybe where did all of this start? Was it the upbringing? Was it, was there a defining moment? Let us know.
I can honestly tell you that it's nothing to do. It has something to do with the upbringing, because I definitely wouldn't be doing these things if it weren't for the prayers of my parents. But I can tell you it's got nothing to do with the upbringing in a way that I was just born into it. Because I can tell you, as a child, I hated going to church. I hated family prayers because till today I don't understand the family prayers, because they're in the traditional. They're in my mother's tongue, which I do know, but they're in the traditional language, So half the words I'm like, what do these even mean?
Right.
But as a child, it just didn't make sense to me to sit an hour in church where I don't understand any of the information that's coming in. So, you were mentioning, for some people, it's their career that defines them. It's the income that defines them. I would say for me, my identity would be child of God. Okay. But it wasn't always the case. When I was in school, it was my marks that defined me. So when I studied in Bangalore and I was first in class all the time, came to Bangalore, that kind of reduced. Wasn't first in class anymore. Competition was high. And, more students in the class, and I just became lazy. But my marks still defined me because they were important to my family, and I knew I should. When I was in class 7, I got the lowest anyone in my family has probably got in math for some reason. Which was like 49 on 100. It's not a big deal, but somehow it seemed like a big deal. I remember spending that summer with all my cousins, and there was a lot of mockery around it. I was called 49 for that summer. Like it was like my literal identity was, hey, 49, you come here. You know? And it was quite humiliating. It was quite upsetting. It was very disappointing to be discouraged by family like that. So at that time, there was this meeting that was happening in church, and it's what we call a retreat, where we go to church for like 3 days, and there's these sessions happening. They're all in Kannada. I don't understand Kannada. Okay, I do now, but back then, not a word. So I'm sitting there, bored out of my mind, and the guy's preaching, the guy's singing, and all of it is happening, and I just start weeping. And I remember in one of the key moments of that retreat, I remember closing my eyes, and I remember just praying, it's your job. You give me a new brain, and you give me a new heart. You set this right, because I don't think I deserve this. New brain, new heart. New brain, new heart. Went back that summer, all my papers, chemistry 50 on 50, physics 49 on 50, math, I don't know, 47 on 50 or something, everything. I can't stop studying. It's come to a stage like that. And I remember these words still ring in my ear till today. My father telling my mother, he's become quite studious. Something's changed. I still remember that. And I remember taking that question and saying, okay, this can't just be about studies. And I remember praying every night after that. And again, it became a routine, because I would start praying the same prayers every night, and I eventually got bored of it again. It was just strange. But again, along with that prayer that I prayed, give me a new heart and new brain, I remember when I prayed that, there was this sense of overwhelming peace, overwhelming purpose, if I could mention it. And I remember, as weird as it sounds, with my eyes closed, I saw this vision of a man with a crown of thorns on his head, who was sitting and weeping with me. And that was when I knew I had to step into faith, and obviously it declined over the years. Came to PU, and there was another retreat in the first year. And there these guys said, you know what, y'all need to read the Holy Book, y'all need to read the Bible, y'all need to pray more and stuff like that. So I said, okay, why not give it a shot? And I read it, and again there was this overwhelming sense of peace and purpose. And this time it wasn't just about studies. It was about a whole lot more. It was about be the kind of person that you need to be. In fact, now when I read it, I realized that there are actually these words, give me a new mind, a new heart, in the book. And I'm like, whoa, I was praying this before I knew the book. So clearly there must have been some sort of connection. Started praying, and just started getting a more hunger for the things of God. And I would say, slowly I realized that this needs to be the focus, because somehow everything in my life started being defined based on what I do with my time with God. And I started praying, and I realized that Jesus means so much to me. And I just started getting into it more. And I realized this can't be just about feelings, because feelings can come and go, like they came and went when I was in class 7. But this has to be more. I need intellectual proof. I need to know if this is real or not. So I got down to the matter. I started reading books, started doing my own research, started looking for manuscript evidence, started looking for archaeological evidence and what the experts said. And thankfully for me, experts have done their bit in this. So I got to benefit from their works. And it just made sense suddenly. And it was, okay, I cannot be defined by a career. I cannot be defined by my marks. I cannot be defined by my income. I cannot even be defined by a little more love. Everything has to come from, it's basically, I keep telling Little More Love members when they come in, I tell them, we are branches. We cannot bear fruit on our own. If we try doing things by our own effort, it's the equivalent of taking a fruit and stapling it to a tree. We need to get life from the root, which brings out fruit. And I tell them, for me, I've realized that that fruit is God. You go on your journey and realize if it's the same for you. Right? So, everything comes from that root for me, which is my relationship with God, which is faith. So I would say, yeah, that's where I land on faith.
Nice. So you're the only person, to be very honest, I mean, who actually talks so passionately about the one, right? You want to talk, I mean, it could be different manifestations, different energies that kind of drive you. But you, like you said, your main primary purpose or your primary approach to life is being fueled by something like this, right? Which is quite interesting, because you have gone on to do so many different things with your life, because it could be because of faith, it could be numerous things coming together. But how have you seen this kind of impact in all these places, these junctures, when you decided to kind of take things back to, maybe picking up LML again, or jumping from different jobs, like you said, taking things as it comes, right? Do you see this sort of faith kind of help you lead that sort of purposeful life, and you going back to having to take it one day at a time? Is that what's kind of keeping going, or is it
100%? Because like I said, how I came from school to college to engineering to job, none of it was planned. So clearly there was someone else who was making the plans for me. And even now, with my freelancing, I worked in a sales and marketing firm for 2 years. I was horrible at sales. I was the worst. I don't think you can find a salesman who's worse than me. I have multiple clients now as a freelancer, and I haven't worked on sales and marketing even once in this. It's just been people coming and saying, we want a website, can you help? And I just think that this is provision from above. This is the fruit of keeping God at the center. Because, I can actually quote scripture on this, which says, seek first the kingdom of God and all these things will be added to you. And I think that's the verse that I want to live my life by. Seek first God, everything else will be added to you when it is their time. So LML, plans and ideas come only after a time of prayer. Somehow they just end up happening. Anything else I do, relationship with my loved ones, my family, anyone, my friends, my friendships, all of it seems to be coming from this relationship with God. So without it, I can honestly say I would be absolutely nothing. Absolutely.
So do you also take the conventional approach to God? Do you go to church every weekend? And how different is it when, let's say, your girlfriend or your family or anyone who probably don't have the same vigor or the same sort of beliefs? How do you guys kind of find that sort of right balance? Because of course this is a very sensitive topic, and at the same time it's something close to a lot of people's hearts, and in this case, of course, yours as well. So how do you handle those kind of instances?
Man, I really hope sometime that my mom doesn't watch this, because this is going to get me into trouble.
Okay.
My family and I do have differences of opinions when it comes to how we approach this subject, because they've been brought up that way, and they really flourish when they go to Sunday church and in a certain traditional way, and they enjoy it. They really love it. I don't. I'm not saying they're wrong, but I just seem that I don't seem to enjoy that. So there are differences of opinions there, and we do have arguments based on that. But ultimately, we just have to stick to the convictions that we have also. Fortunately for me, when I met my girlfriend, she was on the same page as I.
Wow.
And we have grown on the same page together.
What are you saying?
Yeah,
that's insane.
Some people say, oh, okay, I influenced her. Some people say she influenced me. Neither of those are true. We were both, somehow when we met, we were both on the same page. And through the journey, we've walked on the same lines when it's come to this. And thankfully, it's been amazing that way. Yeah.
Nice. So rather than us dwelling too deep into spiritualism and talking about all these other things, right? Let's probably move on to how these things are kind of fueling LML, and what's the future for LML, and what do you have planned? And also I'd like to talk about your Instagram page. What's it called again?
Awe and Wonder.
Okay, right. So yeah, I would probably kill that if I try to pronounce it. I don't quite remember. I mean, I don't remember it. Yeah. So So what's one advice that you would probably give folks who are looking at something to look up to? It doesn't necessarily have to be God. It could be something from within. It could be just discipline in general, something even abstract. I feel with you having gone through a couple of encounters or also having interacted and worked with a lot of different people, you are at a very different level compared to most people I talk to, because I think our generation just doesn't vibe with going to the temple, church, mosque, whatever it is, right? There's just a very, each person having their own way of going about it. And in today's age and time, we're slowly seeing that sort of maybe religious beliefs, spiritualism, all of that kind of slowly dying down. So, but you see other, parallelly things opening up, blooming as well, but not probably in the same, light, because of course we have moved into a very different new generation. So what is the one advice you would give to folks who are looking at maybe looking up to the right person or the energy to kind of keep them on the right path?
We look at this world and we see corona, we see maybe we see human trafficking, and we see murder, all kinds of horrible crimes, and there's this sense of voice screaming within us, this is not how it should be. We work in our jobs, we work in whatever we work on, and there's another voice that screams out, there's got to be more to life than this, right? Most of us have that voice. You're probably familiar with this saying, curiosity killed the cat.
Yep.
Did you know that that's not the actual saying?
Okay.
The actual saying is, curiosity killed the cat, which is what society has said so that you're not too curious. But it's actually curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought it back.
Okay.
The idea is you need to be curious and you need to go looking until you're satisfied and you find what you're looking for. So my advice would be, that voice that says there's got to be more to life than this. Follow it, seek and you will find. That's a promise, right? If you're curious, go look and be curious until you're satisfied. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually,
whatever
physically, whatever it is, just go look and you don't stop. Because you need to find the answer to this. There is more to life than just what we see.
Right.
And it's worth it.
Yeah. And I think with just your life, right, you've actually taken a very untraditional approach when it comes to, your career, or of course, till one point you were basically doing what the other person did. I mean, who hasn't, right? Most folks kind of do that. And the main purpose of the show as well is to kind of talk about these different experiences and junctures that kind of, have gotten them to the place they're at right now. Because there's this notion that if you find success or you find something, even let's say, be it monetarily or whatever it is, right? Unless you're happy, you're just obviously not there, one. And two, just because you're at that point doesn't mean you're like, I'm done. I mean, I've accomplished what I had to, and you know what? It's done. But that's not the situation, right? So how is it that you keep, let's say, having milestones? How do you kind of gauge through that journey? How do you know that, hey, this is, because no one says, hey, these are the best years of our life. They only say those were the best years of our life, right? So how do you kind of gauge that? And of course, I'm sure that your journey's been wonderful till day. I'm sure it's going to be great onward as well. And before we get down to details of LML, if you could just talk about how do you gauge, be it from a career perspective, be it from your spiritual perspective, or from LML where you're giving back, how do you really gauge that, and how you kind of, how do you vibe with that?
So basically, how do I measure milestones, or how do I know?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so there have been many days where I've sat and said, does LML need to go on? Because there have been discouraging moments. There have been events where 2 people have showed up. There have been events where people have backed out, and there has been disheartening moments. So there have been questions about, is this a good ROI? Is this a good investment of time? Is it worth it? And so I maintained a document for Little More Love and for the other thing that I run, which is Awe and Wonder. And I've written the impact it's had. And every once in a while, I go read it. So in Little More Love, I have we wrote a letter that saved a girl's life. There's another thing about Little More Love. One day I got a call from this guy, and he says, "Is this Little More Love?" Random number. "Is this Little More Love?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he says, "I want to kill myself." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
He says, "I want to kill myself." Funny thing is, just the previous week, a friend and I were talking about suicide prevention. And this guy really had it on his heart to help people who are depressed in that way. So I immediately put him on the call, and we just talk it through. We meet this guy that evening. Turns out there's been a huge issue in his life. We buy him ice cream. He's sitting there. He doesn't even eat it. And very disappointingly, we watch the ice cream melt in front of our eyes. Right. But we're concerned about him and wondering what's happening. So we end up being in touch with him. He's a very happy guy now. This guy who wanted to kill himself. Strange guy who we've never met before, right? And this has happened. You know how he found us? He was Googling problems and love. So clearly there's been some love problem in his life. He was Googling love problem. And on page 3, he comes across our website because they have the words problem and love.
Talk about SEO.
Right? Comes and gives us a call. So that's another thing I have on the list. Right. Saved another life there. Another friend who wanted to go and do something drastic because something was going wrong. Apparently, I gave him a call at the right time and invited him to a meeting. And he changed his mind. That goes on the list. Awe and wonder, people have read something and decided to make a life decision based on that. That goes on the list. So I look at these things and I go, even if one life is saved, is that not a good ROI? Is it not worth everything? And the question isn't, for me, if I think in terms of God, it's not, is all this a good ROI? It is basically, I think it's God looking down and saying, are you a good ROI with all the gifts I have given you? Right? So I wouldn't really measure milestones that way, but it's about just looking back and seeing what is the impact on people, not on things, not on numbers, but people.
Yeah, I think we as social beings tend to forget that.
Yeah.
This whole COVID phase has definitely brought out a weird side to everyone where they're stuck at homes and, just looking at their 4 walls and like, oh God, I need to meet someone, right? Yeah. But when that was available in plenty, people were like, no, I don't think I'd want to spend time with you on a weekend. You get that, right? Yeah, the fact that it all goes back to that, and I think, I'm not sure if you have read *Sapiens* by...
I know the
It's an amazing book, and it talks about how we have evolved over time. Of course, yes, but at the same time, how the last generation or the last couple of decades, right, the evolution has been drastic because of technology and the leaps and whatnot, right? So we haven't physically adapted to that yet. So that's why when you try and do something that might be a little selfish, there are, if you don't meet enough people, you're not vibing the right folks, it just kind of, mentally and physically as well impacts you. So it comes back to this where you're giving back something and you say ROI. It's a very, I know it's a very tricky term. You don't say ROI with life, right? It's such a, but the fact that I feel everyone has, I don't think anyone's really felt bad giving back. Or anyone who's done this whole thing and said, damn, I can't believe I spent that much time and money on, something like this. But I have seen people who say, probably I can do more, right? One instance that I'd like to talk about is, I'm not sure if you're aware of CARE, the shelter home for dogs. Charlie's Animal Rescue Center. I'm not sure where the E fits in, but anyway. I don't know, probably. So I as part of my previous job, I used to be the point of contact for the company working with this organization, and we kind of visited the home, the animal home quite a few times, and I definitely saw a lot of purpose and a lot of a sense of belonging when you go there, and you because dogs are just amazing creatures. You find them super fascinating, and one thing I've seen is dogs don't give a shit about anything else. They just want your attention, and that's that. And in return they give you their lives, literally, right? They're always with you. So I don't see, I see a lot of people who come there and visit those places, but don't look at people even with, let's say, half the eye with which they look at dogs, right? Which is great. I mean, you vibe with this, great. That's you. But I think there is definitely there are a lot of places where we can help out, and I think you take away a lot of good feelings, and rather than looking at it as an investment.
Yeah. Definitely, yeah.
Okay, so one thing I want to kind of talk about is social media to some extent.
Okay.
Right? The fact that your LML as well as On Wonder, or pretty much anything that you do is kind of going out there on social media. And you see, there are different ways people perceive it. There are sensitive topics. There are things that people just want to, let's say, express, which is taken in the wrongest light. So what has your experience been? Let's take it one at a time. Maybe first, how has your experience been talking about God, talking about spirituality online, and what's the response been? I'm sure most of it is great, but people have this apprehension of putting themselves out there. Comes to all of these kind of content. So yeah, has your experience been a little, has it been a little tricky to say the least, or yeah?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Like anything else in life, social media has its benefits and it has its weapons. It can be used as a brilliant tool, or it can be used as a weapon to, kill someone.
Right.
So I think the issue with social media is, as a benefit, everyone knows what the benefits are. You can reach a huge number of people just by posting, just by the click of a button. But the issues are today, what is happening is that people are posting opinions and expressing their feelings while having the ability to shut off anyone else that tries to challenge those feelings. Right? So these days, what you will end up seeing is, here's what I believe, here's my opinion on this, whether it is anything, matters of life, politics and relations and sexuality and anything. Here's my opinion on life. If you don't agree with me, you are intolerant. Right? Which is quite ironic in itself, because that's not tolerant.
Yeah.
And so you end up, and there are these so many people that just say, if you're not on the same page as I'm going to block you. I'm going to remove you from my life. It is almost like a threat. So I think social media has given people that power, which isn't the best power to have. There's rather what happens, for example, when I try and see a post that I really disagree with, I try and send a message saying, hey, I didn't really get that. Can you help me understand what you were trying to say? A lot of people have done that with me. A lot of people have not understood where I stand on religion or faith or life itself, for that matter, or on a lot of controversial topics. And I've received messages in my inbox saying, I didn't really get that. Can you help me understand? And there's been good conversation. I have good friends on the other side of the line. And there's always a dialogue. But then there have been others who said, blocked. Right. And I think that's weird. That's a little weird, especially when it comes to close friends.
Oh, okay. Right? You've seen that as well.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that happen. So, that's what I would say about social media.
So what about with let's say with LML or with anything that you generally post? Do you see a lot of pushback? Because it's people can't really disagree with that kind. But do you still see a lot of people really brutally expressing their opinions?
Not on LML per se, but on my other page, which is On Wonder, which is more about faith and things like that. Yeah, sure, there have been. But that's the thing. I wish people would express their opinions in the form of a message and say, here's what I disagree with. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss about it. But it's been more of they see the page and then they say, Nestin's weird. Yeah. Let's cancel him out of our lives.
Right.
And then, so you see a page posting stuff and you're related to the person, which is very natural, obviously. But then the relationship ends up stopping for some reason. Which is quite strange, I feel.
Yeah. I mean, that comes with pretty much anything that you plan to put out there.
Yeah, anything.
I can expect a lot of shit and a lot of flack for the stuff you're shooting here too.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely, yeah.
I can't even tell you how scary it is to kind of do this. I was shooting these intro episodes, and I can't talk to the damn camera, dude. I can't look at the damn camera and be like, what the fuck is happening? I seriously sound like a freaking android. Right? I'm not going to lie. And this, on the other hand, is basically a dialogue, right? It's a conversation, which I feel people, when they tune into these episodes, either through audio or video, they kind of, see a very different side to me, a different side to you too, because you're expressing yourself in one way on your channels. But here we are talking about, so many things, right?
Yeah.
But I know this, I spoke to one of our previous guests about this as well, but I know how people just have that inhibition to put themselves out there because of all this flack.
Yeah.
Because people are trigger happy, if you want to call it that, right? Just waiting and lurking, like, let's just like tell that person how, I feel, and that's it. That's all there is. There's no take it or leave it. You just take it. Right. So, it's after a little bit of procrastination, a lot of thought that I decided, I don't care if I sound weird. I don't care if I look awkward on camera. I'll just, shoot it and put it out there. And I feel these kind of conversations kind of bring out different sides of just life in general. Right. Man, I'm glad that you're not letting any of that affect what you do on a regular basis. Now coming back to what's in store for you in terms of freelancing and in terms of LML. What is it that you're looking for? Do you have some sort of an plan from the looks of it, from how you're kind of snickering there? I'm certain that you don't.
5-year plan.
Yeah, because you did mention that you're not the best person to plan things out. But do you see something in the near future for LML?
Well, right now what we're doing is we're planning on getting groceries and distributing them to a couple of orphanages because of the lockdown. The near future, no, I don't really see anything, because I believe it's always been about people, and then people coming forward and saying, I feel we should do this and it can help people. And then we see how we can help them out to navigate through the process and give them the resources to be able to carry out their mission. So we don't really have plans per se. It's just been about building the community and getting more people involved and talking to them.
So, but you do see a lot of folks still signing up, still joining during these tough time, because I believe, if I'm not wrong, people now should have more time on their hands with lesser commute in Bangalore and whatnot. But do you see a lot of people doing that, and especially being tuned to all the social media and YouTube watch rate having gone up a lot? Do you see anything on that front, or is it
people should have more time, but they don't have time to go out now, which is where most of the events happen. So I think everyone is a little nervous about this whole situation. So everyone's trying to stay safe, and that's a good thing. So I don't think there haven't been new folks coming in for these past couple of weeks at least. And so that's where we are right now.
All right. Cool. So I think that's a good place for us to kind of wrap this up. But before we, completely wind up with the episode, I'd like you to, talk about one thing. If you had to put one message out there for our listeners or viewers, what would that be? And go ahead.
Well, my first message before was seek till you find. I guess the other thing is what you just said. You can procrastinate and wait till you're not awkward, and you can wait till you're perfect. But the promise is that's never going to happen. Never going to be perfect. Start today. Put yourself out there today. Stop seeking the approval of people, because you will disappoint people. That's just a given. You need to probably write that somewhere and read it out to yourself, saying you will disappoint people. Get over it. start today, whatever's been on your heart. Don't wait.
Nice. Perfect, dude. So where can the viewers and listeners find you online?
Instagram, Nestin_Vas. Facebook, Nestin Vas, I think. littlemorelove.org or nwonder.in. Yes, that's it.
Nice. So thanks for coming on our show and talking us through all these amazing things.
Awesome. It's been such a privilege. It's been good. I mean, like I said, I crave for conversations. I crave discussions,
Right.
and it's been so awesome to have fun.
And the fact that we caught up after years. I think the last time we got together was during Joseph's
Yeah,
time. And yeah, man, I'll see you soon.
yeah, awesome.
So yeah, that was our episode. I hope you liked it. I hope there was enough value for you to take away. And if so, I'd like you to let us know in the comment section below. Also, it'll really help if you could drop us a like and subscribe to our channel. I'm actually putting in quite a bit of time and effort to ensure that the episodes and the conversations with the guests really drive the message home. So one thing that will definitely help and kind of keep me motivated is if in case you can let us know by maybe dropping us a comment or by liking the video and subscribing. And yeah, of course, if you are listening to this over audio, then consider following us or subscribing to us there too. And if by chance you're listening to this over Apple Podcasts, then it would really help if you could drop us a review and a rating on the medium. We have a very interesting guest in the next episode. My editor and I have this conversation after every episode that we shoot, talking about how each and every guest that we are trying to bring to the show are very different and how the conversations turn out to be very different. But I feel one thing that kind of ties them all together is the fact that they're all very meaningful in their career, in their journey, and ensuring that they have a purpose that's leading them to do everything that they're doing. So yeah, stay tuned for our next episode, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya. Bye-bye.